You are sitting on a gray fabric couch in an 850 square foot apartment, the kind with thin walls and a parking lot view. A 65-inch TV glows in front of you. It was $899 on Black Friday. It felt like a win. The lease is $1,520 a month. Your black SUV sits outside, $540 a month, locked into a 36-month contract. You make $62,000 a year. Not bad, not struggling, just tight. You open Zillow, a 3-bedroom house, 1,900 square feet, quiet suburb, listed at $428,000. You run the numbers again: down payment, closing costs, monthly payment. It doesn't work, not this year. Maybe next year. You close the app, same result as last week. Across town, someone with nearly the same income is doing something that feels wrong. He is not upgrading anything. Same worn leather wallet. Same 2014 sedan with 112,000 miles. He wires $38,000 out of his savings, everything he has. It lands on a 1968 duplex, brick exterior, 2 units, each about 1,100 square feet, total price $198,000. One decision preserves comfort, the other destroys it. Only one of them moves forward. On paper, both lives look stable. Same income range, same access to credit, same exposure to the same housing market, the same interest rates, the same economic reality. But the outcomes begin to separate immediately, and not because of intelligence or effort. The difference is where the money flows. In the first life, income expands and expenses rise to meet it. The $540 SUV payment feels manageable because the paycheck supports it. The $1,520 rent feels normal because everyone else is paying something similar. Subscriptions stack quietly: $14.99, $11.99, $7.99. None of them break you. Together, they erase your margin. Every dollar is assigned before it arrives. In the second life, income stays the same, but expenses are held in place. No upgrade, no new car smell, no larger apartment. The gap between income and spending remains intact. That gap becomes capital. That capital becomes a down payment. That down payment becomes an asset. From the outside, both lives look responsible. From the inside, one is fragile. Because the moment income stops in the first system, everything collapses. Payments don't pause, obligations don't negotiate. The structure requires constant input to survive. The second system begins to reverse that pressure. Instead of feeding the system starts feeding you. Most people think wealth is about ownership: a larger house, a newer car, a living room filled with expensive things that signal progress. But ownership by itself proves nothing. Ownership often creates obligations: payments, maintenance, insurance, attention, time. What matters is not what you own, it's what your ownership does to your cash flow. A $540 car payment is ownership. It removes $540 from your life every month. A $3,200 sectional couch is ownership. It sits in your living room and produces nothing. A 1,900 square foot house with a $2,700 mortgage is ownership. It demands income to sustain itself. None of these assets generate money, they consume it. Now compare that to a modest duplex, 2 units, each rented. The tenants cover the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance. And what remains, $300, $400, sometimes more, flows back to you. That is not just ownership. That is a system. The shift is subtle, but absolute. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Will this pay me back?" That question changes everything. Because the moment your assets begin producing income, your dependence on your paycheck begins to shrink. And when that dependence shrinks, something else quietly expands. Control. Run the numbers slowly, not emotionally, just math. The black SUV outside your apartment costs $540 a month. Add insurance, $180. Fuel, another $220 if you drive a standard 12,000 miles a year. That's $940 leaving your account every month. Over 5 years, that's $56,400. At the end of it, the vehicle is worth maybe $18,000. You burned over $38,000 for transportation. Now take that same $38,000 and reposition it. A small rental property. Purchase price, $200,000. Down payment, $40,000. Mortgage at 7.2% lands around $1,100 a month. The unit rents for $1,550. After taxes, insurance, and setting aside $200 monthly for maintenance, you net roughly $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year, about a 7.5% cash-on-cash return. But the math doesn't stop there. Each month, part of that mortgage reduces the principal, roughly $2,400 a year in forced equity. If the property appreciates at just 3% annually, that's another $6,000 in value. Now your $40,000 is producing closer to $11,000 a year in combined return. One decision drains $56,000. The other turns $40,000 into a machine. Stop negotiating with yourself, set rules once, follow them without emotion. If income increases, do not upgrade your lifestyle for 12 months. Let the gap widen. That gap is your leverage. Use it. Do not buy anything that cannot answer a simple question. Will this return cash or reduce future expenses in a measurable way? If it cannot, it is a liability, no matter how it looks. Separate debt into two categories. Debt that produces income is leverage. Debt that consumes income is drag. Treat them differently. Eliminate one, scale the other. Track cost per use on every large purchase. A $2,400 item used 20 times is a $120 decision. Write the number down. It removes illusions. Build reserves before you build comfort. 3 to 6 months of expenses, not for safety, for optionality. Reinvest all early cash flow. Do not celebrate $300 a month. Deploy it. Small streams compound into systems. Learn the language of assets. Cap rate, cash-on-cash return, DSCR. These are not academic terms. They are filters that prevent bad decisions. Stay small long enough to understand the system. One property teaches more than 10 books. Ignore timing narratives. You are not predicting the market. You are positioning within it. Make the first uncomfortable decision early. Everything compounds from that point forward. A $2,400 Peloton bike sits in the corner of a 900-square-foot apartment. It was used hard for the first 3 weeks, then once a week, then once a month. After a year, it logs 40 total rides. That's $60 per session before the $44 monthly subscription. Add another $528 annually. The real cost per ride climbs past $70. It looks like fitness. It behaves like a slow leak. A $3,200 sectional couch fills the living room, 8 feet wide, soft, oversized, perfect for weekends. It generates nothing. No income, no savings. It absorbs space, collects wear, and quietly depreciates. 5 years later, it's worth a fraction of what you paid. Ownership without return. Now shift one variable. A $40,000 down payment on a small rental. A 1,200-square-foot unit in a working suburb. Purchase price $205,000. Rent $1,600 a month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, and reserves total $1,250. Net, $350 monthly. That's $4,200 a year, about a 10.5% return on the initial capital. The bike charges you per use. The couch costs you per year. The property pays you every month. Same dollars, different direction. One choice consumes your future slowly. The other builds it quietly, whether you are paying attention or not. The pressure you feel is not just financial, it is neurological. Every fixed payment is a quiet demand on your attention. rent, car lease, subscriptions, insurance. Each one is small on its own. Together, they create a constant background signal. Your brain tracks it whether you notice or not. That signal elevates cortisol, not enough to panic, enough to keep you slightly tense. That tension changes behavior. You become more conservative with decisions that could improve your position. You avoid risk, even when the math is favorable. You delay action because stability feels safer than movement. At the same time, you seek small rewards to offset the pressure. A purchase, a delivery, something immediate, something controlled. This is how the loop sustains itself. High expenses reduce margin. Low margin increases stress. Stress drives short-term decisions. Short-term decisions increase expenses. The system feeds on your need for relief. Assets interrupt that loop. When a property produces even $300 a month, the signal changes. The brain registers incoming cash that is not tied to your time. That reduces pressure, not dramatically at first, but enough to shift perception. You stop reacting to money. You start directing it. Start with clarity, not motivation. In the first week, open your bank statements and label every outgoing dollar. Rent, car, subscriptions, food, insurance. Do not estimate, write the actual numbers. You are not budgeting yet. You are exposing the system you are already living inside. By the end of the first month, remove one major recurring expense. Not the $9.99 subscription. Something that matters. A $400, $600 monthly obligation. Sell the item if you have to. Break the lease if the math supports it. This is not comfortable. It is necessary. You are buying back margin. Over the next 90 days, redirect that freed cash. Build a reserve equal to at least 3 months of expenses. Not for emergencies, for positioning. Cash gives you speed when opportunities appear. At the same time, begin studying one market, one zip code. Track rents on 1,200 to 1,800 square foot units. Watch how long listings stay active. Learn what a fair price looks like without needing to calculate it. Within 12 months, deploy, not perfectly, specifically. One property, one decision, one shift. The system does not require confidence. It requires movement. 2 systems run in parallel. Most people don't notice which one they are inside until years have passed. In the first system, income rises and lifestyle expands to absorb it. The apartment becomes a larger apartment. The car becomes a newer car. The $1,520 rent turns into $2,200. The $540 payment becomes $780. Each upgrade feels earned. Each one locks in a higher baseline. Within a few years, your income and your expenses sit almost on top of each other. There is no margin, only maintenance. Every month becomes a reset point. You work to sustain what you already have. When income pauses, the system tightens immediately. Stress increases. Options disappear. You are not poor, but you are not free. In the second system, income rises and lifestyle stays fixed. The apartment does not change. The car does not change. The difference accumulates. That difference becomes capital. Capital becomes assets. Assets produce cash flow. Cash flow widens the gap even further. The system begins to accelerate. After a few years, the direction is irreversible. One path compounds obligations, the other compounds options. Both started with the same income. Only one created space. At some point, the numbers stop being the interesting part, not because they are small, but because they no longer define what is happening. A person with a $2,700 mortgage, a $780 car payment, and $1,200 in monthly obligations can have a higher income than someone else and still feel constrained. Every dollar is already spoken for. Every decision runs through a filter of, can I afford this? That question never goes away because the structure demands constant support. Now picture a different structure. The mortgage is covered. The baseline expenses are stable. And each month, $800, $1,200, sometimes more arrives without requiring your time. Not enough to impress anyone, enough to change how you think. You stop asking if you can afford things. You start asking if things are worth owning at all. Because the real shift was never about real estate, it was about removing dependency. The ability to leave a job that is slowly draining you. The ability to take time when someone you love needs it. The ability to move without negotiating your survival. That is what the numbers were building toward. Wealth is not the car, not the house, not the visible signals. Wealth is the number of choices available to you. And whether you are forced to choose or free to,